I don't know if that was Mr. Hoffman's money or what it was. All I know is that money arrived and it was time to go to work. The Alabama Project, as I titled it, was an effort to use Facebook and emulate some of the tactics that had been used against Democrats in recent years.
Doug Jones didn't know that this was happening on his behalf.
All I did was push a little from the outside. Our effort, we were hoping, would help Republicans not turn out to vote. So we created a page called Dry Alabama, a conservative, pro-Roy Moore, pro-Republican bunch of people who wanted to make Alabama dry again because the liquor laws had gotten too liberal. And our idea was that if you show this to moderate suburban Republicans, they will say, oh man, these Roy Moore supporters, they are crazy. And if these Roy Moore supporters are so crazy, then I just can't support him. That was the idea.
If you're like me, you're fearful for the souls of our brothers and sisters.
We made videos, and some of the videos were just mocktail recipes.
Try this moral take on a sinful beverage, a righteous mint julep.
I have a knack for creating new voices, and in this particular case, it sounded like a real conservative.
You were pretending to be somebody that you weren't.
Oh, sure. I was definitely pretending to be a conservative when I wrote that stuff. I felt empowered for the first time ever, really, to finally give maybe a Republican Party a taste of its own medicine a little bit. Fundamentally, the fakery is going to happen. It's happening to me, so why should it not happen to you? New Knowledge was part of that, so was Tovo Labs, and it turns out so was my little group. I did not know that at the time. The New Knowledge stuff, some of that seems pretty sketchy to me.
So let's start with the idea that reality is a construct of your mind. And what that means in a philosophical context is that all of us live in our own subjective reality.
A little cyber security company called New Knowledge based in Austin, Texas. They got some money from Reid Hoffman through a pass-through to this little project. This group created a conservative Alabamian Facebook page to try to influence conservatives, even though they were Democrats, they were liberals. Among other things, they endorsed a conservative write-in candidate to try to draw votes from Roy Moore.
New Knowledge has gotten a ton of investment to conduct research to counter disinformation, and they themselves are currently operationalizing disinformation. It's really problematic.
As the Secretary of State who has to certify election results, you must be concerned about these incredibly deceptive tactics.
Yeah, but seriously now, what we're talking about here is not anything different than what has occurred in U.S. politics or international politics in the history of political systems. The only difference is now people are able to do that in many people's minds more effectively because of social media.
So these tactics don't raise a special kind of alarm?
Well, the problem is you can't ever fully address them because you can't control the behavior of people who are engaging in that activity.
John Merrill, Alabama Secretary of State, is definitely part of the Republican machine, and he will settle things on terms that are favorable to the Republican machine. To some degree, I was hoping that there would be more reaction from the right. I was hoping that there would be more, oh, well, that's terrible what you did. But that didn't happen so much.
Are there actions you would take as Secretary of State to defend against disinformation in elections?
Well, if there were instances where the law was broken in regard to campaigning, we definitely will. But if it's simply someone doing a superior job to another candidate without going outside the boundaries of the law, then we can't pick apart what certain people are doing because at that point, that's not making the most effective or best use of our time. I
can't say that we actually made the difference I wouldn't go that far. But think of the math here. 3 million people saw this ad. If we affected 1% of them so that they ended up not voting, that's 30,000 votes. Doug Jones won by 21,000 votes. If we affected 1 in 1,000 of the people who saw that ad, that's 3,000 votes. That's about equal to Doug Jones's winning margin in 11 of the counties that he won. Imagine a bunch of these efforts, each whittling away just a little bit of the vote. That's all you need if you're talking about a close race. So yeah, I have a moral imperative to use these techniques against you. I absolutely have to, because otherwise, what's going to happen to my political perspective? It's going to be drowned out completely. The situation is that one side is obeying a set of rules that the other side will never respect, ever. And they will not change the rules until the rules start smacking them in the face a few times.